alumni of African graduates. And unfortunately, this African graduate is being housed by the Civil Service Trading College. That's the irony. That's the irony. Just imagine an institution designed to train our civil servants was perpetrating this academic fraud. And to that extent, it has negatively impacted our civil service. There are places you go now, there are MBAs you go, people you see assigned for responsibilities, having the capacity, having the skills, because they acquire their papers that have taken them to these positions from this fake academic institution. And Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want the public to know that this particular hunt or this particular campaign is not a witch hunt, because at the end of the day, people will be crying all over that they are targeting me because I am A, B, C, D. In this case, it's going to be without any sentiment and any aspersion. This, I believe, should be a cleansing movement to cleanse our public service. And I think it should not only stop at auditing the diplomas and whatever, but we should go back to even the universities. Up till now, people are entering universities with fake O levels, fake WAS papers. People are even entering colleges with the names of others, certificates of others. Up till now, it is obtaining in our society. And this is becoming so challenging, Mr. Speaker. With this, Mr. Speaker, I am suggesting, as the proposer of the motion was saying, to have at least some experts from the university, from TED, from the bar, people who feel that we add credence to this particular audit, so that we cleanse ourselves as a nation. Or else one day you'll be seeking an international job, and because you are a Sierra Leonean, and there's this kind of smear, maybe you not even have the opportunity of being shortlisted because you are a Sierra Leonean. In view of this, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want to thank my colleague for this bold step and encourage every one of us to see ourselves as national campaigners and do our level best in helping this nation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I thank the honorable member for his contribution. There is one particular member who is always punctual and trying to see if his name is on the list.
Non si deve provare di sé, ma non avevo mosso.
The honorable member at the back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, you are. Honorable member, pointing at you now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Not your honorable C4C member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members, today we have been put to test again. A call like this, every citizen of this country will want to see it work at the best of a state and to ensure we cleanse this country once and for all. But however, I want to look at it from a different angle. Our country is hung on a political line, and they say he who comes for equity must come with clean hands. Many a times, people might want to see how society changes, but once they are affected with that change, all sorts of interpretation will begin to mount. So inasmuch as calls like this are coming at this particular time, we must be mindful of ensuring that once it begins to take effect, we must consider that effect, if it falls on us, we must not try to brand it in a way that we begin to look at it differently and interpret it on the other hand. What am I trying to say, Mr. Speaker? The pressure is mounting on the ACC and other institutions, and Parliament today is making a call that we need to go and see how certificates or other things will be verified. But once this verification begins and people are being affected, there are sort of interpretation that will begin to mount. So therefore, in as much as we are looking or calling for verification of documents, we must also be mindful that once these verifications are done, they are done in the true sense of ensuring that the country is being placed at a position where those that will be found wanting face the full force of the law, and not only facing the full force of the law, but we don't give it interpretation of political line or whatever, that it's being looked at under the clean face of the country that wants to see a better change for this nation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Member. I think some clarification is required here before we proceed further. What this motion is asking the House to do is to step into a vacuum left by the ACC. If we go by the media reports, it's very clear that, I don't know whether the ACC changed their stance, but it was clear that the ACC virtually abdicated responsibility, statutory responsibility, which they have under the ACC Act when they were invited to investigate this matter. So this motion is now asking for Parliament to step into the breach and do something. Now, what the motion is seeking to do is to ask Parliament to establish a select committee to investigate this matter and to report to Parliament. Once that report is before us, we shall then determine what our next steps will be. The motion has not preempted what the recommendation is going to be. It will be left with Parliament to determine what to do with the report once it is brought here. So let us be clear about that. Let me recognize the honorable leader of NGC.
Thank you.
And I want to take the opportunity to welcome him back.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Colleagues, I want to commend our two colleagues for moving this motion. It is a disgrace to have people wanting to have credentials by subterfuge rather than paying the price to gain knowledge. So personally, I felt really embarrassed to see some of the big names that were paying for PhDs. And I believe I want to commend them for doing this motion, but I like what Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business, Honorable Bash, suggested. It's a Herculean task for one small committee. I think his modification was really correct. that we empower our existing select committees for the various sector ministries to carry out this exercise. This other committee, I think, should basically try to coordinate that action to make sure that in fact the select committees are doing this. Section 93 or Section 6 indeed empowers select committees to demand these documents. I think that's an important modification that Honorable Bashir Siliki made. This other committee can help coordinate to make sure we don't slack off, and in fact it is done on time, and the reports then they can jointly compile to the chairs of those committees. Having said that, I also want to state, when I watched the excuses some people are giving, that, oh, I paid to some institution in Dubai $5,000, so they conferred it upon me, so it's legitimate. You don't. I have about 4 or 5 honorary doctrines. You don't pay. It is very difficult for those institutions to give you an honorary doctrine. It's a process. They nominate, committees examine, they do due diligence. My committee pay, my ministry. The point is, you don't pay.
You are recognized.
You are recognized for your service. So my main comment is, as we do this exercise, we should demand as Parliament, all of those who paid any institution, whether in the UK, Dubai, or wherever, you renounce publicly. Don't give us an excuse that you paid for a degree. No, if you're paying, pay fees and go through the process. Go through the process. People should know, for those of us who studied in America, for a PhD, you take courses for sometimes 2 years. After you finish, and you should pass minimum B grade, after you finish, they organize a comprehensive exam. That final exam, they allow you to fail once. In fact, at Oxford University, you fail your out. They don't care if you've paid for 2 years. In the United States,
In Cambridge, you are not even allowed to fail.
To fail, we see people circumventing the process, and now it is wrong. If you're paying, pay to Friday College, Jala, wherever, go through the coursework. I believe we should demand, and that's what I want to see government do, demand that all those who paid come public and renounce. Then we know they regret, because it's a bad signal to our young people. Don't worry. Wait till you accumulate money, or maybe you come from a rich family, pay somebody to give you a degree. I also believe, I know the technical legal clarification that ACC was making about advantage. The issue is not about advantage. Morality in society. The kids are already cheating in primary school. They're cheating in secondary school. Suddenly, they found out that the big bosses are also cheating. You're making a society where meritocracy does not work anymore, where people be seen speaking with one voice that this is not tolerable. Those who pay. I saw an exchange, a confidential exchange of another big man with a friend of mine who was so appalled. This man got an honorary doctorate from an institution that is not an academic institution. Give me a break. You don't get a doctorate from a business. You get a doctorate from an accredited academic institution. Honoris causa is given to individuals after due diligence and scrutiny of their service to society. You don't pay for it. So I really believe one message today, Mr. Speaker, you should make for all of us, that we in Parliament, the people's representatives, believe this is immoral in society. We need to send a signal to our children and big men and women in this country that we don't tolerate it. Thank you very much, sir.
I thank the honorable members for this contribution. Before I call on my next speaker, let me recount here the very sad story that I know of a very good friend of mine who is now deceased. Professor McBilley-File. Professor McBilley-File was chairman of the TEC of this country. He was put in the unenviable position of having to decide whether to stay on or to resign that position. He chose the honorable way out by resigning. As rightly pointed out, this fake degree saga had started a long time with St. Clements, then he graduated to I Am Tech, and I believe it was over the I Am Tech saga that Professor McBilley-File, when he was pressurized into giving accreditation to an institution that did not satisfy the conditions and the criteria for accreditation, he offered his resignation. And immediately he left. Some contrivance was designed to get I Am Tech affiliated to, what is it, Njada University. I thought that was enough for us to have learned our lessons as a nation, but we didn't. And because we failed to learn the lessons that episode provided us, what we've got is AGU, Dominion, and so on and so forth. This is, to say the least, a national disgrace. A national disgrace. And it's putting our country into disrepute. If you want to be called doctor, go and work for it. Don't buy it. If you Google honoris causa, they will tell you, you don't use it when they confer it on you. You don't use the title doctor when it is conferred on you as recognition of your services. You can only use it when you earn it on merit. I give the floor to the Honorable C4C member.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, of course it is clear that we are here as a nation to fight a national disgrace, a national embarrassment. And I believe every member of Parliament here seated must have been touched emotionally with regards news of doctorate degrees being conferred on people a few weeks ago. And for the motion on floor this morning, honorable members, it is clear that we, as a parliament, it is incumbent on us for us to take every necessary step, every necessary action to right the wrong of our nation going forward. And we believe the issue of
sorry, Mr. Speaker, the time is 12. I therefore move the exercise to be suspended to continue the business.
30 seconds.
I so second, Mr. Speaker.
All in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may continue. But please take into account the fact that the other members want to speak.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. And this is not an issue that we must even delay on, because as far as I know, and as far as I believe all of us here are concerned, we know that the issue of Dominion, the recent one, coupled with all the other universities, so-called universities, is a concern that all of us will not be proud to associate ourselves with. For people to even think about, for them to even have the guts, the temerity to go under a mango tree to confer doctorate degree. You can imagine how disgraceful it is. You know? So like as the second of the motion, the Honorable from Kailan was saying, we should also think about the operations of the TEC. They are not only there to accredit institutions, they should also ensure that those institutions that are not accredited for them to be monitored to ensure that they don't operate. This is a concern. But for an institution to operate for over 4 years illegally, you know, it begs the question what sort of leadership we have in some of these institutions, these state institutions that we have, that are charged with the mandate to regulate certain affairs in the country. As colleagues have said, being a member of parliament doesn't necessarily mean you should have a university degree. No. But to maintain the dignity of parliament, that is why the mover of the motion is moving that we include members of parliament in our vetting of academic credentials. It is very, very important. We are doing this not to witch hunt, not to go after any particular individual, but to believe this is a responsibility that we have as a nation, as the people's representative, that whenever we see issues that are inimical to the development of our state as a nation, we should come in robustly and take the necessary action to correct those things. On that note, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the move of our colleagues for this House to set up the Special Select Committee, we are appealing to Mr. Speaker that you take leadership in that, in ensuring that we have this committee, this select committee, as quick as possible. Even though I'm afraid the session is almost coming to an end, I don't know how will the mandate of the select committee be. Because as far as I know, the issue under investigation will not be able to complete by the end of this session. It will have to take some time, as there are so many other parties that we are going to involve in it for us to go into this matter thoroughly. I want to thank all of us that have the urge to move that we correct these abnormalities in our educational sector. Thank you.
That's my member. I think let us try and first of all, let us all recognize the moral duty that we hold or we have in this matter. And I think the mover of the motion was right to include members of parliament among those who are to go through the certificate audit, for the simple reason that you cannot live in a glass house and throw stones. So it is precisely because of that parliament, members of parliament are also included in the audit. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Of course, Mr. Speaker, honorable members.
Are you winding up now?
Okay, let me move on. Mr. Speaker, honorable members. Of course, those of us who at least tried to attain some level of education feel disturbed by the current saga, because When I call Dr. Abbas Bundu, I want to call Dr. Abbas Bundu because he merits being a doctor. When I call Dr. Kande Yukela, I want to call Dr. Kande Yukela because I know he merits being a doctor. He went to the big course of the academia to achieve that problem. But what we are now having, we have people, and Mr. Speaker, honorable member, like the honorable from Kitchen was citing, when the child cheats and realizes that his father's contemporary is cheating somewhere, then you are justifying cheating. So we, as elders, do not have the moral ground to control or to correct this situation in this secondary school college. Mr. Speaker, I will not record the name, but as we speak now, just yesterday, something came out about the chancellor of a university getting not even a doctorate degree from a university, but from a bibliography, an institution that just combines bibliography. And you as a chancellor of a university using that behind your name? Come on. I mean, Mr. Speaker, it is appalling. And if we don't take care now, we don't address this issue now, it will go on and go on. And what is going to happen? We are going to create a very weak human resource base that will be handling the matter of this country, and in future, our country will be nil. We cannot compete at international level at all. Because reputation now is damaged. And, Mr. Speaker, I also read about an issue where a director in one of the institutions in the country went to Dubai and bought a doctorate degree for $5,000 conferred at the Dubai hotel. Mr. Speaker, from a mango tree to Dubai hotel, we need the higher institution. When you go to the Dubai hotel, you have a higher class. I mean, you have a in a more robust atmosphere. And guess what? Some of them occupy government offices, use government money to go acquire these things. Let us hold them to account and refund those monies back to government. Because you are stealing government rights. Using government money, acquire a fake degree, come to work for the same government pay you based on what you have. Come on. That's double dipping or triple dipping. This thing must stop. If you can acquire a bachelor's degree, excel in public and show what you are capable of doing. You don't need a doctorate degree to be fluent, to be prolific. No. Our best orator we had at Kobe College, the late Professor C.P. Foley of present memory, had a bachelor's degree, but he was a university orator. He was one of the best lecturers we had in Kobe College with a bachelor's degree. So why are people rushing to go get doctorate degree, master's degree, when you cannot really acquire it? If you cannot output, you cannot output. Period. We cannot afford a society of falsity, wherein people believe in false life. Come on. This is exactly what the SO2 buyer faking. We're going to continue to cultivate that culture. It starts sending. People struggle for years, 9 years, 10 years to acquire a doctorate degree, and then somebody just go to a mango tree and come. Excuse me. Sierra Leone used to be the Athens of West Africa. Let us keep it at that. Let us keep it at that. Now, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I don't think the TEC here are to blame, because they are the first whistleblowers. Every year they compile a list of accredited universities and people, but they cannot keep track of all of those people who go around sleeping in different corners, getting degrees from every corner. I don't think we must blame these. They have done what they can, but they don't have the ability to do everything. That is where I think Parliament can come in. And when we talk about Parliament, members of Parliament are not required to have a degree to be in Parliament. By the Constitution, it is only saying about literacy. But let us not think about it this way. And I hope people will not take it personal. I hope people will not take it personal. We have over 300 employees in Parliament now. Over 300. All of them come with bachelor degrees, master's degrees. If we want to start, are we given the right to start there? Parliamentarians do not require a degree to be in Parliament, my friend. Look at the Constitution. Look at the Constitution. So, what I'm saying here is, what I'm saying here, Mr. Speaker, with the number of workers that we have in Parliament, let us try to do an audit in Parliament. Parliamentarians, workers, etc. But let us make sure we start cleaning our house before we go out to clean other houses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
I thank the honorable member. Let me one lady.
Not to Eddie get it, Mike. I'm already. Where am I already now? So
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I've had my colleagues debating, but they've not actually pronounced the right people in this embarrassing situation that we found ourselves in Sierra Leone. A lot of us, of our colleagues and compatriots, are having degrees, yes, PhDs, yes. I want to say that they are victims. The perpetrators are there, and I call these perpetrators as the dean of faculties, the lecturers in the universities. They are the cause of all this. And money is speaking. We are saying this, but I don't know when we will solve it. As long as you have the money, there's nothing money cannot buy. So let's bring this head of, principals in these universities, this dean of faculties, put them on the round table and warn them, because these are the people signing these degrees to these people. So when they come with it, some of them are also victims of their goodwill. Yes, I can narrate a story for you. This is about like 10 years ago. There's a university, I don't want to call the name. They have boyfriends that goes for lectures and then bring notes on. And at the end of the day, they have these degrees. Ask some of these ladies or some of these boys, they cannot even write a letter of application. So, if we say the Parliament is going to get involved in investigating all these, the qualities of these degrees, these ladies and gentlemen are having in this country, we have a long way to go for this. So it's not going to be easy. When we finish with Parliament alone, we have about 300 of us, and then the staff and the members of Parliament, then external ministries. It's not going to be easy, Mr. Speaker. So, let's get the heads of these people who are issuing these degrees and doctorate degrees. External from outside Sierra Leone, I cannot guarantee that because it's not going to be also easy to contact these universities and make sure, get information about the quality and because we have embassies in all these countries, they cannot probably do it. So let's actually bring Parliament together and see how best we can first of all deal with Parliament before we start going elsewhere. And it's a big business. It's a big, serious job you are putting on Parliament to do. A committee alone cannot do it. And we are almost getting to the end of this time. Some of us are busy campaigning outside already for us to come back, and we cannot leave our constituencies to concentrate on, investigation. So, Mr. Speaker, I think you need to really, let's have a meeting with the members of Parliament in room number 1 and see how best we can succeed in this. Otherwise, I'm afraid. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think let's wrap up. I will now recognize the leader of the
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, as leadership of this Parliament, we are extremely very deliberate for us to debate this very sensitive issue. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, before now, we have, as a Parliament, always raised issues around our educational system. That's why His Excellency the President, in his campaign, promised human capital development in the area of education. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the fake degrees or fake institutions is an age-long problem, Mr. Speaker. For honorable members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, when we are doing the constitutional review, when we are doing the constitutional review, Mr. Speaker, in the last Parliament, some of us we are very clear that we should review the requirements for a member of Parliament. We at least recommended that today, member of Parliament, you should at least have an advanced diploma, Mr. Speaker. But the Human Rights Commission and some human rights people came and they said that would be infringing on the rights of citizens of this country. So the Constitution is extremely very clear. For members of Parliament, we need to respect Section 75, Section 75D of the Constitution is clear. They should be able to read and write. And that's the same requirement for a member of Parliament.
You don't have to know how to read and write. You have to be proficient.
So, yes.
That one is there. Give it to me.
Okay, let me read, Mr. Speaker. Section 75D. The subject to the provisions of this any person who is a citizen of Sierra Leone, otherwise by naturalization, and is able to speak and to read the English language with a degree of proficiency sufficient to enable him to take an active part in the proceedings of Parliament. That's the only requirement, and that's the same requirement for the minister. That's the same requirement, Mr. Speaker, honorable members to the minister. But Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I noticed that people are blaming Sierra Leoneans who are pursuing these degrees. But Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want to blame the TEC. I want to blame the TEC, Mr. Speaker. After the war, Mr. Speaker, you begin to see the craving of education. Go to our villages, go to our districts, everybody wants to have a degree or a diploma. Everybody. In 2001, Mr. Speaker, it was this Parliament that created the TEC to regulate these tertiary institutions. And we created because we noticed that Sierra Leoneans were in the urge to attend tertiary education. So, like we have NATCOM that regulates telecoms, it is not even possible for anybody to operate a telecom, a mobile company, without recourse to NATCOM. It is not even possible for anybody to operate a media house without recourse to INC. So it is very disheartening to see institutions emerging awarding degrees and certificates to our people, and we now blame these people. It is disheartening, Mr. Speaker. We should squarely put this blame on this. Because like the INC, they are making sure they are supervising and monitoring the media space. No media institution will exist without INC. No media institution will exist without the approval. The moment they exist, they will close the institution the next day. But Mr. Speaker, we now know about Dominion and AGU. But if you go to our communities, there are institutions existing, awarding certificates and degrees that have not come to the limelight. There are plenty of institutions, and our people, you know, they want education. For instance, if you go to Kubola, for instance, and somebody opens a tertiary institution, everybody will go to that institution because the person wants to have a certificate or a diploma. If you go a few days ago, Mr. Speaker, the president was in my constituency. And the major client of my constituency was, Mr. President, we want a tertiary institution in our community. Because our people, because of the lack of tertiary institution, Mr. Speaker, that's the reason why migration is increased. You notice people moving from rural communities to urban communities for educational purposes. So when these institutions come and TC sit and begin to complain, Mr. Speaker, they are not doing justice to our people. They are not. And if you are saying institutions are awarding degrees, how can we sit and allow institutions to award degrees and we recruit these people in our service, in our civil and public services? So, Mr. Speaker, I believe we should question this and save the people, because some of them went through the normal academic process. Some of them, a lot of our colleagues here. And if we begin to investigate, you will have, for instance, somebody said, there is a civil service training college which is also hosted AGU. And this civil service training college is an institution of government. And if that same institution is now conferring degree on people, you would ask question. You just go because they are hosted in a government institution, and they are the people who are lecturing the civil service training college are the same people lecturing at the AGU. And these are the same people lecturing in our universities, Mr. Speaker. These are the same people. So, Mr. Speaker, when we begin to blame the people, oh, you got your first degree, oh, you got your master's degree from this institution, we should blame TEC, and TEC should step up. They should step up their game. That's why we have established TEC in almost all of the regional headquarters. They should step up their game and let us stop blaming. There's no way institutions go to our villages and people don't want to acquire diploma and degrees. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I still believe for those who have used these degrees to unduly advance themselves, either by acquiring a job or getting promotion, I believe this parliament should investigate. If you got your degree, because everybody wants a degree or diploma, without these degrees, you have no influence to get anything, then it is fine. That's your business. But if you have used this degree to be promoted, if you have used this degree to get a job, we need to investigate. And if you have attained a degree and you have been promoted based on that degree, we should look at the original results you went into the institution and now drop you to that position where you are supposed to be. Because you cannot sit in an office where master's is required and you have a fake degree, and somebody with a genuine master's degree, you are supervising that person. So I believe we should investigate, and has been proposed by the honorable candidate that we now, Mr. Speaker, because of the time, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want to paraphrase the motion to read, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, that the select committee shall request all oversight committees of Parliament to direct that all MDs submit an audit report of academic certificates and degrees pursuant to section 6 and section 93 for the consideration of the select committee themselves. So, Mr. Speaker, this should be the motion, and we empower all select committees, all committees of this House. Henceforth, when doing your oversight, you make sure the first question you now put is for the MPAs to present the original results of their employees. So that at the end of the day, when you vet, you bring this report to the select committee and by extension to this House. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you all.
Point of order, sir. Point of order. Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business. I thought you were going to demand that the TEC comes to face our higher education.
Of course, there will be someone.
Of course, the TEC is supervised by the tertiary commission. So we are not taxing them. They should not solve problem. They should come and explain why we have so many institutions all around the country awarding degrees and certificates. The people are in a rush. When you bring these institutions, don't go for it.
Thank you, Leader, Acting Leader of Government.
Yes. In as much we Leader of Government Business requesting that the different select committees should look into this matter. We need to have a committee that will report to.
Your proposal, I think, still stands. What he is suggesting is a paragraph 2 to yours, namely that the various oversight committees should direct the MPAs to submit an audit, of certificates and degrees for the consideration of the select committee that you are proposing. So, you have the last bite of the sherry, and then I'll put questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I actually want to applaud the members of Parliament, those who have spoken to this particular motion, and I want to believe that this was a perennial problem we have in this country. But it just remains for us to have a whistleblower, somebody who can stand in that position to actually see we bring this particular issue to rest. Mr. Speaker, I think so many suggestions have come from members of Parliament here, and I want to believe we'll go through this one and address the issue of academic fraud in the country. We want to believe that even those that are in the Western world that are working as we speak, and we also find out most of the problems we have in those ministries, where you have some unperformed ministers of government and even parastatals, because they don't merit most of these things. They are coming from overseas. They have some of these, because I was part of the appointment committee for 3 years. Most of the certificates and degrees I saw in that particular appointment committee was certificates that come from universities that are outside this country. And we don't bet their credibility sometimes. So most of them are misperforming the ministry's department, most of maybe it's based on most of these things. So I crave the indulgence of those that are going to be part of this committee for them to actually take that stand. And Mr. Speaker, as I spoke about automaton, you gave a deadline that this particular time all of this issue was to put to rest. And the committee in return will also give an ultimatum to the Human Resource Department of those MBAs for them to do the submission. For Parliament, we have Director of Administration that is there. They will request that one, and then they will bring all those original certificates. We give them time, and then we'll look at it. The technical committees that should be invited, like the CC, Conference of Principals, we look at some also principals of vice chancellors of different universities for them to actually help us with their technical support. Because sometimes when you look at some of the universities across the world, somebody may come and say, well, from Harvard University, I got this particular document. Most of the documents that come to Parliament does not have the seal of original documents. So in view of that,
Mr. Speaker, point of order. What he's saying, nobody will bring his original certificate and give somebody. The day you want to audit, you say A, B, C departments who want to audit, bring their original certificates, they bring them, you verify them, and give back to them. They cannot come and give it to people.
I think we are on the same page. I'm not saying that they should come and submit their certificate. When you send in the photocopy during the time of audit, you bring the original. That's what we are saying. So, with that, Mr. Speaker, I move that the motion for academic audit for diplomas, bachelors, masters, PhDs to be audited across the country.
Do you also accept the amendment that has been proposed?
Yes, I accept that one.
Honorable members, the question is in two parts. That this Honorable House, pursuant to SO 25 and Section 93 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone 1991, constitute a special select committee to conduct a certificate audit in all ministries, departments, and agencies of all diplomas, bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees acquired by all civil and public servants and members of Parliament and ministers of government. Paragraph 2. That the Special Select Committee shall request all oversight committees of Parliament to direct that all MDAs submit an audit report of academic certificates and degrees pursuant to subsection 6 of section 93 for the consideration of the special select. All those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Private member motion moved by Honorable Paul Sassam has been carried.
The Special Select Committee will be set up between now and our next sitting, and the membership of it will be announced by me at the next sitting of Parliament. Thank you. Let's proceed with the bill.
B. The Anti-Human Trafficking and Migrant Smuggling Act 2021. Introduction and first reading. The Minister of Social Welfare.